Well guys, if you didn't hear word on the street, those boys and girls up in Cupertino, California, they showed off their new iPhones today. Well, not just their iPhones. We'll look at all the different things they showed off here today, and I'll give my opinion on those as a former Apple shareholder. But this September event, it's always known as the event where Apple shows off their new iPhones. They do it every single September, okay? Now, once again, I'm a former Apple shareholder. I sold out of the remaining Apple shares I held. This year, I made over $2,000 on those shares, but I'm still heavily reliant on Apple Corporation because two of the big semiconductor stocks I own, they make chips for iPhones and iPads and things like that. So I'm definitely financially incentivized on Apple's success or failure. So I want to share my honest opinion on these different products that Apple launched, and some of it is not so good, okay? So first off, they showed off a product called Apple Arcade, all right? Now, I thought this was actually a really intriguing product. Basically, it's going to be $4.99 a month. You get a ton of games you get to play, a lot of exclusive games, a lot of pretty cool stuff they showed off here. This is going to launch in September. And my overall thoughts on this was actually a pretty cool product. Now, is this something that is going to be a needle mover for Apple in the short term in terms of their revenues and profits? Absolutely not. Do I think this has huge long-term potential? Absolutely. If you look at what Apple's trying to do, they're trying to build the services side of their business, the recurring revenue, and not just trying to be reliant on how many iPhones they sell each and every quarter. They want to build out a huge services business where they have recurring revenue constantly coming in from all these different products. And this is a pretty cool product that's $4.99 a month. I think it's got great long-term potential. Anything that's going to happen short-term that's going to affect the business? Not really, okay? They also have their Apple TV Plus launching, which is kind of their Netflix competitor. And this is going to come in at $4.99, which is the most shocking thing that happened literally at the entire day. I think most people assumed this was going to be a product somewhere priced between $9.99 at the lowest and maybe up to like $19.99. And they came in with that $4.99 price point. It's going to launch in November, and that's absolutely a shocking thing, okay? $4.99, that's unbelievably low. This is another thing that, is this going to be great for Apple in the short term? Absolutely not. Because even if they got mass amounts of people to sign up for this, which mass amounts of people, millions and millions, if not 10 million plus, will probably sign up for this service within the first year. That's still actually like chump change, and I know you can do those numbers, and they're really, really big numbers, but that's actually like really small potatoes for Apple Corporation. So something, again, that has a great long-term potential for Apple, but in the short term, it's not going to do much for numbers. But you see Apple Arcade, you see Apple TV Plus, obviously Apple Music has built out into the biggest music service in the world, and you see all these different products, and you put that along with the cloud and things like that, and you can see Apple's building out a massive services business, and this is where Apple's focus is really going in the future. This is horrible news, by the way. Let's just, call it what it is. Horrible news for Netflix. As we see Netflix having a really tough day out there, down 3.65%, okay? I've been calling out this for a while because all these competitors are coming in, and Netflix has had the whole category to themselves for too long. I would not be surprised if Netflix stock approaches its 52-week low somewhat soon. You guys know Disney Plus is coming out here in about a couple months as well, okay? And in terms of Disney Plus, that's going to be a service that's $6.99 a month, meaning that you could sign up, imagine somebody that's, very conscious of money, okay? You could sign up for Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus, and it would be around the same price as a Netflix subscription. And if a lot of folks are going to look at this, okay, especially people that have kids, okay? People that have kids, that's an automatic, okay? But even regular folks are going to look at this and say, wow, I could get Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus with all the ridiculous amount of content on there and the insane amount of content Apple will have, as well as exclusive content. A lot of folks that maybe are, only have $10 or $15 to spend on these services each month, they're going to look at this and they're probably going to say, you know what, I think I'm going to ditch Netflix and I'm going to go ahead and get an Apple TV and a Disney Plus service because I'm going to get way more bang for my buck. So that's horrible, horrible news for Netflix. I've been calling out this for a while. I've been telling you guys the massive competition is coming in, and sure enough, it has came, and it's not looking good for Netflix, okay? So that, in terms of Apple, not much short-term help, but a lot of long-term gain there, all right? They showed off a new iPad that was at the lower price point, and my thoughts around that was there's nothing special with this new iPad in my personal opinion. The iPad, I always think of that as the starter device to kind of get you in the Apple ecosystem. You can get an iPad, from the Apple website, some of these older models for like $300 or so, and so that's kind of the initiation of getting people into the the Apple ecosystem. Like maybe you never had an iPhone before, and maybe you never had, you know, a Mac and things like that, but you get an iPad, and next thing you know, you're like, man, I love this experience. Now I want to get an iPhone. Now I want to get a Mac. And next thing you know, you're in the entire ecosystem, and you got AirPods, you got Apple Watches, and you got all of a sudden your Apple everything, right? It's a starter device. So it's important for Apple's business, not in terms of how much money it will generate, but in terms of getting people in the ecosystem, so then they can sell you iPhones down the road and they can actually make a lot of money. And maybe if you were an Android customer, you come over, you start using an iPad, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you buy an iPhone and you get the Mac and the Apple Watch and the whole deal, okay? But nothing game breaking there, all right? They showed off Apple Watch Series 5, okay? This is their newest Apple Watch. This follows up from the Apple Watch Series 4, which they launched last year. So the Apple Watch Series 5 is going to start at $399. They're going to have the model that has cellular with it for $499. And this is another product that when I looked at it, there was no really groundbreaking new features. I know they have like where the face will constantly be lit up now and things like that. But when I looked at this product, I said, there's nothing game breaking here that if you had you know, a Series 4 Apple Watch, you say, I gotta go buy the Series 5, unless you're just that type of person that you just have to have the newest and the newest products and whatnot. When I looked at it, I wasn't that impressed. And overall, when I looked at the product, I was like, you know, it'll do okay numbers, but I don't see this being a smashing success with that particular series. The thing I thought was most interesting was they decided to go ahead and move the Series 3 that came out a couple years ago down to $199. Now, this is a great move for Apple. Why? Because Apple wants every single person that owns an iPhone to have an Apple Watch over time, okay? Which would mean hundreds of millions of people not only are buying iPhones every few years, but then are upgrading and buying Apple Watches every few years, okay? That's what Apple wants on a long-term basis. And if you want to get to that place, you've got to have a really good product that's really, you know, inexpensive, and we're talking about $199 there. That is a price point that's going to be very attractive to a lot of folks that say they can get a brand new Apple Watch Series 3 for $199. Okay, now we're talking, and more people will get that, and they'll get it as Christmas presents, and they'll try it out. Some will like it, some will not like it, but that gives you a great opportunity because not everybody wants to spend $399 or $499 on a product that they're not sure if they want yet. Keep that in mind, okay? It's not like an Apple Watch is a needs-based product like a phone is, like a cell phone, right? And so $199 price point, great move by Apple there. I think that was one of the smartest decisions they made overall, okay? Now, once again, this event is always for the iPhones at the end of the day. If you don't know, the majority of Apple's revenues and profits are made up from their iPhone business. And they always get launched, and the new ones always get launched in September, okay? And what did they come out with here, okay? So they came out with the iPhone 11, which kind of replaces the iPhone XR in my opinion. And the most interesting thing about this, honestly, was it's a $699 price point with dual camera. So that is a pretty intriguing price point. So when I looked at that iPhone, I thought, is there anything really groundbreaking with this iPhone? Not really, okay? Great chips, you know, great specs, all of the best, you know, as far as these new iPhones, they're gonna have the fastest chips by far in any smartphone in the world when you compare them out. And I'm sure you'll see the tests over the coming weeks once the phones actually get on the market. And they'll blow away in terms of speed any other smartphone in the world. And that's pretty common for Apple. Whenever they come out with their newest iPhones, they always have the fastest chips out there. That's just generally how it goes. That's how it is with these products as well. But the $699 price point, I thought that was pretty intriguing. The phone itself, there's no feature with that phone you say, oh my gosh, I have to get this phone. But $699, that comes under the iPhone XR last year. The iPhone XR last year came in at $749. So we're talking about $50 cheaper, and we're talking about better cameras, dual lens, and we're talking about obviously much faster chips. So that was pretty intriguing, okay? They had the iPhone 11 Pro, which has a 3-camera process, okay? And once again, faster chips, pretty similar design to past iPhones there. I think it's a 5.8-inch screen. That one starts at $999. Intriguing product, but not that intriguing where folks say, oh, I've got to go get this new iPhone or something like that, in my personal opinion. And then they came out with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is like a 6.5-inch screen or 6.6-inch, they said, as far as the screen size. They're a very big iPhone in general. That one's going to come in at about $1,100 price point there. But once again, none of those iPhones, when I looked at those, unless maybe you're a professional photographer and you have to have the best camera possible on a phone because you use your phone for photography or something like that. Outside of that, these weren't iPhones that I was like, oh my gosh, these are going to do huge numbers or something like that. They just weren't. When I looked at the features, I was like, you know, everything's better. Okay, that's what we expect from iPhones, but nothing was game breaking. The design is just similar to past iPhones. As far as did the phone have like 5G or something like that, they don't. So when I looked at these iPhones, I said, these aren't going to be, they're still going to sell well in terms of, people that are going to have iPhones break. And so when they have their iPhone break, they go buy another iPhone, right? They're going to lose their iPhone. They lose their iPhone, they got to go get another iPhone. They're going to replace the iPhone. And then you have those certain amount of individuals out there that have to get the newest, right? They always buy the newest Samsung if they're a Samsung customer. They always buy the newest Apple device if they're an Apple customer, right? You're going to have those people. But in terms of the masses saying, I've got to go buy this new $1,000 iPhone, I don't see it at all with this generation of iPhones in my personal opinion. So I don't look for, these sales numbers to be insanely strong or something like that. I think next year has big potential. Why? Because Apple will come out with their 5G iPhone likely next fall, okay? So I think that has big potential because 5G will continue to be built out over the course of this year. And by the way, a lot of people are wondering, why didn't Apple go ahead and launch a 5G iPhone today, all right? Because, Samsung, they've got a 5G device in the market now. You can get a Galaxy S10 5G. By the way, that phone starts at almost $1,300. But some folks were wondering, like, why doesn't Apple come out with a 5G one right now? And Apple probably could have, but you got to always think about it in context of when does it matter to actually release a device, okay? Samsung loves to be like first on a lot of these different things and whatnot. But the fact is, you buy a 5G phone right now, and there's hardly anywhere you can use it in the world, okay? And especially in the United States of America, there's hardly anywhere you can use it. So if you buy a 5G smartphone right now, here today, it's almost pointless on owning a 5G iPhone or a 5G Samsung or a 5G anything right now, okay? Now, throughout the course of this year, the 5G network will continue to be built out, and it will become more and more relevant to have a 5G phone of some kind. And then in 2021, we'll see a mass build out, okay? But if you're thinking about it, should I get a 5G phone of some kind now? It absolutely doesn't make sense because almost literally, like I live in Las Vegas, a massive city, right? We pretty much don't have 5G anywhere here, so I could have a 5G smartphone, sure, and it would be the same as having a 4G phone because the network's just not built out yet. But as the network continues to get built out this year and into the next year, then 5G phones start to become relevant and people start to get them and they're like, look at the ridiculous speed I'm getting on my phone over here. And other folks are going to say, dude, that's 10 times, 20 times faster than my phone. I want to get a 5G phone as well. And the hype will really start to build in about a year or two. But for right now, it makes no sense for Apple to launch a 5G iPhone of any kind. Samsung, they like to just be first on everything, so they released a 5G iPhone, but it's literally it's completely a waste of money. Like if somebody is paying $1,300 for that phone, I'm like, what are you doing? Because literally you're just going to be using a 4G network, and it's going to be the same exact phone as buying like a 4G like Android device at the end of the day, guys. But overall, when I looked at this as a former Apple shareholder, I thought, there's nothing that's going to be great short-term number-wise, revenues and profits over the course of the next year for Apple. If I'm looking for Apple to get back to some pretty good growth, I'll probably look toward next year or something like that. But the services, you can tell, Apple's play is all about those services, building out that into becoming a massive business with those recurring revenues, that $5 a pop, $10 a pop, and those numbers will do, bigger and bigger as time moves on, guys. So anyways, I want to hear your opinion on the Apple special event down there in that comment section. As always, make sure you smash the thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.